it to me, like I keep sitting here saying, like, why couldn't it work? And I'll tell you why it couldn't work, because of the GM, right? Like, and Joe had such a good point. We were talking about this earlier. He was saying, like, right, like the coach is gone, the franchise quarterback, quote unquote, is gone. Like, basically, if you want to put this into like a pie of like thirds, why did the GM? Why is that third stay? Like, if it was that bad, where you just had to basically clean everybody out, and I'm sure like Ertz obviously be gone, and Kelsey might be gone. Right, like, and they're going to make a lot more moves. This is the first domino to fall for the Eagles offseason, but the biggest probably, but obviously the first. And to me, it's like, why does Howie Roseman stay? Because how can, like look here, like look at this. First of all, like, there's so many different ways to look at this, but like, there's like, I'll pull up some tweets here. So you look at this, like, you know, they chose Wentz over Foles. They gave him 120. I mean, like, right, like, I don't have to go through this whole thing with you guys. You understand, like, just all I keep thinking is, like, whether this guy's drafted poor or picks poor coaches. Like the way I look at it is, usually you fire a GM when there's mistakes made throughout, like, the roster, the coaching staff, like all those things. Like, the guy doesn't get to pick a couple different ones, right? Like, look at the Bears, for example. They went with Nagy, they went with Trubisky. Like, this is it for them. Like, that's not right now for Ryan Pace and for Nagy. Like, they're on their like, you don't get 3 strikes in this. You get 1. Like, and that's why I don't get about, like, how he's still there.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're good. It's got to be just the amount of time he's spent in the organization, and Jeffrey Lurie just basically having the same issue that Howie has with not being able to let go of the old-time veterans that have been around for a while, which that's in the GM role. That's essentially what Howie is. Like, he wasn't a GM the whole time, but he has been with the Eagles for 2 decades now. Like, it's getting close to that. It's getting very close to that. But I also thought there was an interesting tweet from Derek Gunn. I don't remember the exact wording, but he was basically saying, like, what Joe was saying is, the quarterback's gone, the head coach is gone, but like, there's a huge cloud over Philadelphia, and that doesn't feel right. And that's so true. Like, when you get rid of a quarterback that was supposedly the problem, or the coach that was supposedly the problem, like, the city kind of feels differently, and it's like, okay, well, we have a new regime coming in. Like, I don't even think Eagles fans care that Nick Sirianni's the coach. Like, no one's even like gotten into that yet. So, well, especially because it's so bizarre.
And let me jump in here, not to interrupt you, but like, I think because of the flavor of how last year failed, and how there was like, oh, Jeff Lurie like kind of wants to pop in and have his say, and, oh, Howie Roseman kind of has his say, and they didn't do themselves any favors with those press conferences, basically making it sound like, this is like the weirdest way of analogizing is like Catholicism, how like there's like the Trinity of like the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit type thing. Like, I think they look at like coaching, GM, and ownership like it's all one. We're all one unit of the Eagles, if you will. But like, whereas like with everybody else, it's like, no, the coach is the coach, the GM is the GM, and the owner is the owner. Like, right, like, and there's lines drawn out in the sand. I don't see them. And to your point, Chad, I think that's why people are just kind of like, what does it matter if it's Sirianni? Like, the poor guy is the jack in the deck of cards. Like, the king and the queen are still going to outrank him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like that's what this feels like. And let me just add, so I had this tweet up earlier with Zach Berman put up earlier, was just the Eagles spent 5 draft picks to acquire Carson Wentz in 2016. They gave him a $128 million contract 20 months ago, right, less than 2 years ago, and now they're taking a cap hit, the biggest in NFL history, I believe, of $33 million, to basically get him off the books, and they got a 3rd round pick for that, and maybe a first, but a second at worst after that, the year after, right? Like, so. How does that, and Mike Missile was saying on today on the Fanatic, how basically it's like almost like basically you bought the stock at a certain price, now it's on the dollar, now it's pennies, right? Like, that's how I feel. How's that, like, the guy who said, hey, let's do that in the stockbroker room, like, how is he not fired?
Well, I mean, you're right in the comment, but I do want to just clear something up because I've been seeing it all day and pretty much a couple months now. Yeah, we're in a terrible spot, and Howie has done some terrible stuff, but like the whole worst cap situation in like of all time, like that statement, that's literally just because of what time we're living in. Like everybody's getting paid insane amounts, and the guy that we messed up on is that guy. Like every other four in the top five of that list, it's like Jared Goff, it's Matt Stafford, it's all these guys that just left. Like it's the money that's going on right now.
I'll almost analogize it this way. It's like, right, like if you get in a fight with your wife, right, like you're gonna do whatever it takes to for the kids, like the whole get up. Right, there's a lot more on the line to make it work. Whereas if it's like your second date and you're at the movies and like someone says something offensive and like
but that's what I'm saying.
That's what I guess my point is. I'm saying, like, why couldn't they make this work?
They couldn't, but beyond that, it's like it's a big mess up. I'm not saying it's not a big mess up. What I'm trying to outline here is if we put every single contract in terms of where they would be right now, there's no chance that that's the worst one of all time. That's all I'm saying. Like that is just being overused right now because it's Philadelphia, and clear example of how everything gets twisted and turned in Philadelphia. Have you seen what everybody's saying about Carson Wentz now, by the way? Like, the Indianapolis Colts are Super Bowl favorites, and he's going to have a breakout year. Like, literally, the second he got traded, it all got flipped. He's the best quarterback of all time again. So,
the Colts are good.
The city drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I feel like going back to the comment on Howie Roseman and Jeff Lurie, I feel like they're almost like it's like a Fortune 500 company that might perform well on the stock sheet, but internally they're just like there's toxic turmoil everywhere. It just I don't know. I mean, for your sake, Chad and Eagles fans, hopefully they can turn something around. And there's a long road.
The balance sheet is off.